You never know. I mean, there's enough activity. Bruce Tango keeps saying, well, why don't you just get some EVPs? And I said, well, because it would have to be when I was here in the house alone. And if I did, then I'd be even more freaked out if something happened. I don't want to hear it. I'll do it with somebody else, but I won't do it myself. So
Yeah.
Bruce needs to come west. That's all.
There you go.
He's the king of EVP.
All right.
So how does Mr. T handle all of this?
Doesn't bother him, when I had Callie and Pipsqueak here, all the animals I've ever had have never reacted negatively, even in the Hollywood house, which was pretty haunted too. They just look at them. They're not afraid of them. I think they all think that they're just people that belong here or something. Because I mean, T will stare and his tail will start to whip, but he's never started to hiss at anything. But I just, we all hate it when cats just stare at something, they're seeing something that we're not, right? I mean, it's just a little unnerving.
We have one that'll do that too.
Yeah.
His head will jerk up and just sit there and look, and I don't see anything, I don't feel anything, but apparently they're seeing something. I have no idea what it might be.
Yeah.
But we haven't actually felt or heard anything in this house, so hopefully it's okay. I don't know what it would be that he might be seeing. Could be a spirit of a person that used to live here or something. Maybe they come back to this house, but they're not here bothering us or even letting us know that they're here. So that's okay with me.
That's a safe thing. But remember, Patsy has a gift, and you're an investigator, and spirits are attracted to people like that. They're attracted to me when I write the book. And I mean, short story, but when I was writing the first Ghosts of Hollywood book, Dinah, my publisher at Schiffer, she handled all the metaphysical books and the ghosty books and everything. And when I sent in the manuscript, when the first one was done, she called me a week later and she says, "What did you send with this manuscript?" And I said, "Nothing. But did I leave something out?" And she says, "No, but my office is like Grand Central Station for ghosts right now."
Really?
She's an investigator as well.
Huh.
She says, that book came loaded.
Huh.
And she wasn't kidding. I mean, she was just like, "What the hell did you do?" I said, "Well, I guess it's a ghost book, and maybe they followed you there. I don't know."
My copies didn't have bonus material like that.
Yeah, mine didn't either.
No, mine don't either. But I mean, she got the bonus material, and she said I had to send them off. She said there were just so many. I said, "Well, good. That means that they know I was telling good stories, then, huh?"
All right, Barbara. I know you've got a ton of questions, and you've kind of just been quiet. So I'm going to let you handle it here.
Well, I was interested in what you were talking about with your houses there, and on the background of that area, it seems to me that that's all newly built things. So it would seem that these are either transplants or layered hauntings, or do you get the feeling that they might be elemental, which is a whole different sort of?
There definitely are elementals, but this area, all of Los Angeles, Hollywood too, used to be Native American ground, especially around the rivers. So we have the San Gabrielano Indians that used to be here, and those followed the river from I don't know where, but all the way down California, and that's why they're calling it San Gabriel Canyon, because it was the San Gabrielano Indians. So I think a lot of it out here anyway is Native American because it was their land first. That's my theory.
It's your theory.
Yeah. Well, historically, it makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that, well, it's not too far from the Wild West era either. So one never knows. There wasn't gold in that area, I don't believe.
No, but there were a lot of rancheros.
Okay.
Hollywood, particularly where the LA tar pits are, Los Angeles tar pits. It was one big hacienda. It was Rancho La Brea. And it went on for miles and miles. I mean, it could have come this far. I don't know. But I know in LA, Victoria Gross and I were again working on my book, and we went to this library not far from my house, and it's a very old library. And when we got there, Vicky said, and she didn't know the history of Hollywood at that time. She said, this is a ranch. And she said, I see horses, I smell horses, and I'm seeing, like people walking around and like what they would do on a ranch. And like I said, she had no clue. And I said, well, this is Rancho La Brea. And she said, yeah, and they're not speaking English. I said, no, they were it was owned by Mexico then. And so, that's part of it too. They are the rancheros, and so different layers. Yeah, I mean, you have when it was Mexican and we're here, and the Native Americans and stuff. And then in the Wild West, there's a story that I wrote up in my book on Hollywood Boulevard, not the area where all the stores are, but the residential part on the way to Laurel Canyon. There's a corner, I think it's Gardner and Hollywood Boulevard, where people have seen gunfights and stagecoaches, ghostly stagecoaches and gunfights happening on that corner.
Wow.
So that goes down to the Wild West days, I guess.
Up in Hollywood Boulevard in Gardner?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Because normally when I'm
like
down
Nichols
Gardner,
Canyon area?
Yeah, I occasionally I'll be on the bus there, but normally I'm on Sunset.
Yeah.
So I'll have to check that out now. No.
Yeah, they've seen, cops and robbers and Indians and stagecoaches and things like that. Yeah. So I mean, LA, like everywhere else, it has a deep history, many layers that go back a very long time. And, California had Spaniards and then Native Americans and then Mexicans, and then the rest of us took over. So there's a lot of things going on in town here.
And we always talk about how thunderstorms, etc., might heighten ghostly activity just due to the ionization or whatever. And I wonder about if the same thing would happen with earthquake tension. And whether or not that energy also could do the same sort of thing.
I don't know. Have you noticed up there? Because you get your share as well as us down here.
This house is definitely not haunted. So, and I haven't heard anybody say anything to the effect of, things are if things are toppling over here, it's usually an earthquake.
Yeah,
but, I don't normally hear anything along those lines. But it seems to me that, there's a phenomenon about the earthquake lights, this sort of sparkly lights that appear just before an earthquake happens.
Right.
Kind of makes you wonder about that electrical tension or that built up geomagnetic energy that might cause some of the spiritual activity down there.
Yeah,
so
it could be.
Is that similar kind of thing, the way you sometimes see lightning coming out of volcanoes?
No, and they're not quite sure what makes up those lights. But if you look it up, they're earthquake lights. And they do sort of appear around the area that is going to have a fairly good massive earthquake.
I've not seen those, thank goodness.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Now, Kat in the chat room was wondering if quakes mess up ley lines.
Good question. I don't know.
Or if they're all part of it. The ley lines might feed that sort of information. I don't know.
That's something to look up. Good question. I never thought of that.
Be kind of fun to look at.
Go for it.
So,
No, I mean, see, this is why when you get to talking and stuff about things, oftentimes other things come up that give you food for thought and looking up things and I think that's really important. But then I'm really inquisitive. I'm nosy. I go digging. Somebody says something and I'm looking on the internet. If I don't understand or never heard of it, I go looking. Because that's just me. I like research. I must be crazy, but I do.
The next time I go photography in a cemetery, I have to look down now.
I have to look down now.
You got gooses? Maybe something will goose you in the cemetery.
Well, like I said, we have geese, ducks.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe they're nicer and they just,
turkeys.
find one spot.
you'll get home and say, "What's that on my shoe?"
Well, you'd smell that in the car on the way home,
Oh
probably.
yeah, it's not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little
Back
bit.
we go.
Yeah.
We regressed. Sorry, people.
So
Yes, we did.
is
Sorry.
is the tar pit still there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're
I love
active
the
and
tar
stuff, or I mean, do they
Yeah,
mine?
they burble a little bit.
You're
And
not
they
thinking
start.
of the movie. You're not thinking of the movie that's where the earthquake, the volcano come up.
Oh, the volcano movie
No,
with
no.
No,
Jer- well, yeah,
no,
I can't
no.
remember his name. Tommy Lee Jones.
I just
Yeah.
didn't know that the tar pits were still there. Are they still like
Oh yeah.
looking for dinosaur bones and stuff in
Yeah,
tar
they
pits?
they
They've
do a
never
lot of
had
it.
dinosaur bones.
Well, what they
But
They've
find?
yeah, they were post dinosaur. You'll find saber-toothed tigers and vultures
Mastiffs.
and mastodons and such, but not mammoths. Not mastodons, but not dinosaurs. Although there have been dinosaur fossils found in the area, but
Yeah.
not in the pits.
Don't they have now, Jeff? I again, I haven't been back there. Don't they have kind of a museum? Because the last time I was
Oh, yeah.
there, you
The
could go
Edgar,
down into an excavation thing and look around, where they were doing
I-
that. But then I heard there's a museum there now with some of the stuff they've dug up.
Well, the Edgar, I think it's Edgar. I know the last name is Page because it's there's a
Yes,
family name
yes.
in mine. That museum is still there. In fact, there's an animated film they show which demonstrates how certain animals probably fell in, including like how sometimes vultures and condors would fall in because they would show them land on something had died, but it was still poking out, and another vulture would hop on and they would fight, and one would fall off and then they'd be stuck.